Welcome to the Climbing Daily Friday Gear Show. On today's show, we're at an ice climbing event in Chamonix-et-Vendoise, which is the perfect place to talk about the new ice screw from Cassin, the Rocket Plus. So before we get cracking on the Rocket Plus, what is an ice screw and when would you need to use it? Well, when you're ice climbing, you can't use normal protection like nuts and cams because it's ice, they just fall out. What you need is a piece of metal, the ice screw, which you literally screw into the ice. It ejects a core of ice out of the end and you screw it all the way in until it's as deep as possible, hopefully all the way to the end. Now remember, whilst you're doing this, you're usually hanging off with one hand, a little bit scared, a little bit terrified. So having a good ice screw can save you a lot of faff and be much safer. In the same way that rock protection comes in different sizes, so do ice screws. I've got two examples of the Rocket Plus here, a small one and a big one, and you pick the ice screw depending on how thick the ice is. So if it's thin, you might only be able to get a little one in. If it's nice and fat, you'll probably be able to get a bigger one. Generally, the more ice screw that you can get into the ice, the safer and more protected you are. Modern ice screws usually come with a handle, and this is a way of quickly winding in the screw. The old school ones you had to hold onto and twist in, and it was very difficult to do. So this is a great innovation, and it carries through into more ice screws. As companies manufacture and develop their products, they tend to look at ways of making them lighter. Why is that? Well, if you've got to carry lots of ice screws up a route, having light ice screws means there's less weight and less bulk on your harness. Now, what's exciting about the Cassin Rocket Plus is with their setup, they reckon it's one of the lightest ice screws in the world. Before we go into that, here's some tech specs about this screw. The Rocket Plus comes in three sizes, 13, 16 and 19 centimeter length. They are color coordinated so you can easily pick the right size on your harness. There are reverse angle threads which Cassin reckon makes for smooth screwing and maximum holding power. The crank knob, as Cassin call it, means you can quickly screw the screw into the ice. There's a fixed Dyneema sling that has two loops, one for racking, one for clipping. You need to attach your own carabiners, but it eliminates the need for extra quick draws. They are lightweight, at 118 grams for the 13 centimeter Rocket Plus. When combined with one of Cassin's ultra-light carabiners, like the Nano 22, it becomes one of the lightest screw/quick draw setups in the world. We took these screws for a little play at an ice fall near Chamonix, so I can let you guys know what I thought of them. So let's start at the beginning. How did they screw into the ice? Well, the ice, as I said, wasn't perfect, but these handled it really well. Lovely and sharp, and that thread system meant it bit and screwed into the ice perfectly. This crank knob is essential on all ice screws, and it makes for very fast placing. I do wish it had folded in or had a fold in option, but it really doesn't get in the way and it hangs nicely on your harness. One of the main features with the Rocket Plus is this integrated Dyneema sling, and this takes away the need to carry up extra quick draws. So if I take a normal ice screw, this is from Cassin, you can see it comes without that Dyneema sling. So you'd have to take your quick draw and attach it, clip your rope, and off you go. Now, of course, carrying extra quick draws means more weight and more stuff on your harness. So it's a cool feature with the Rocket Plus to entirely eliminate that. When you buy the Rocket Plus, it comes without carabiners. Here I've just attached carabiners to the two loops of the Dyneema sling. Now the top one, that's for racking because it's slightly shorter and therefore will sit better on your harness. And the longer one, that's for clipping in your rope. There is usually a moment where you have to transfer your hands from one carabiner to the other carabiner, but that's less difficult than taking a quick draw off your harness and clipping it in, so it is a simpler method. Now, the chromalloy steel hanger spins freely on the ice screw, And that means that you can actually clip your rope into the bottom carabiner and screw the screw in or out whilst always being attached to the ice screw. Not ice screws have this as a feature, and it is an interesting one. I've never been 100% convinced, and that's because if you clip the rope into that carabiner and start screwing it in, you're only really safe when the ice screw is fully into the ice. However, why not just try having it into that carabiner? And especially if you're seconding on a traverse, it's nice to be protected all the time whilst you're unscrewing that ice screw. So it is a cool feature and certainly an upgrade on a basic ice screw. Okay, so I found a nice little ledge to stand on, good place to put an ice screw in. Got my appropriately lengthed ice screw. Just going to attach it to my rope. Bring it up to the position. It's always a bit fiddly to start off with ice screws. You just wodge it in a bit, get it in. There we go, and then using this system here, you can see how quickly it is to wind it in, and all the way along I'm actually attached to the ice screw. So if something was to happen, I was to fall off, there we go, nicely wodged in, all good to go. Now I can move on up the route. The one disadvantage to this whole setup is there's quite a lot hanging off the screw, and sometimes when you're spinning it, it can kind of get caught up and you have to unfiddle it so it can go in more easily. However, this doesn't happen often and it is just a case of learning the gear and learning the correct way of placing it. It's nice to see camp bring some innovation to something simple like an ice screw, and the extra features do improve it. The weight saving alone by not bringing up loads of extra quick draws is really worth it in my opinion. It'll be cool to put these to the test throughout the winter, but for now I've been impressed with these little beasts, and of course if you guys want to pick them up, remember there's a link down in the description below. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you soon.